So we here at Microsoft and at Microsoft Advertising, we've been on this journey for the past few years, one rooted in deliberate curiosity in the hopes that it might help our clients and us deliver on our mission. So the work we've done was started well before the unparalleled demands of 2020 really kicked in. We've been supporting our clients and agency partners on their journey towards more inclusive marketing all along. Now, there has been a clear need to shift to focus on people, their values, and to find our common human values, and then double down on figuring out how we can help you, our clients, represent that in your marketing, in the fabric of your business, because it's not just marketing, and build an incredible relationship with your customers. We set our sights on digging deeper by producing new knowledge that we can all use, additional consumer research studies on how brands can build trust, the role of inclusion in advertising, if it had one at all, and how it all might impact brand and advertising performance. Now, before we get into the deeper content, I would like to say something personal and important. Some of you may be wondering what someone like me is doing talking about such deep topics like diversity and inclusion and inclusive marketing. I want to acknowledge my privilege. I am a white, middle aged male. That is all true. And I'm here today to talk to these topics humbly and without pretension. My hope is that you see and hear how deeply I care about these topics and will come along on that journey with me today. So I think we can all agree the past year has been been a tough one, right? Maybe one of the toughest we've had in our lifetimes. And so far, 2021 does not seem to be letting up, at least not yet. What we discovered though on this journey has been, you know, helping us step up and our clients also to recover, respond, and reimagine their advertising and business in a time where economic uncertainty, health and safety concerns have increased, and the keen awareness of inequality and social injustice have become acute. The demand for how brands need to show up for people is getting clearer, and what people expect from brands is getting bolder. We're grateful for our close partnerships with advertisers and agencies, and for the research and work that we've done over the past couple of years. I'm so excited because it has led us to this moment where we can share a great overview with the hopes to help you and your brand and your clients navigate these times with success. So it all comes down to purpose, right? That's the guiding principle and where everything begins. So we found in our research that companies that lead with purpose are more trusted and loved, right? Loved. It helps them endure and thrive through tough times because it inspires loyal connections with their employees, their communities, and their customers. Purpose fuels a genuine human connection through shared meaning. It allows us all, whether we have our business or personal hat on, to respond under pressure and in uncertain times with focus, clarity, and authenticity. Whether that is changing your supply chain to become a customer of a more socially conscious supplier, or the creative you design for your advertising, having a clear brand purpose leads to authenticity by design. And authenticity is the number one brand attribute that leads to trust. So, clear brand purpose leads to authentic, trusted brand experiences. So, you need to find your purpose, right? And purpose defined is the reason for which something is done or created or for which something exists. So, what is your company's purpose? Does it align with what people care about inside your organization and out? Because honestly, and this is a quote from the CEO of Microsoft, the world is at an inflection point. It's time for us to get to the very core purpose of a modern corporation, what it means for the world going forward, because that's what our world demands of us. Those are big, big words um, from Satya. I think I expect nothing less, and I would agree most people probably do as well. But it ties back into this big picture Microsoft mission, and that is empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. Right? That's a big statement. And so that's the very reason why we pursued this research and how we uncovered marketing with purpose. So our research shows values drive value. I'll say that one more time. Values drive value. So that's one of those fun little quotable pieces there. What someone values, not just who they are, based on generic demographics is where shared meaning between a person and brand can begin to co-author together a trusting relationship that leads to incredible loyalty. First, you need to make those brand values clear. What is your mission on this planet? It's going to start there. What is your benevolent brand attributes, your promises? How do they relate to your product truths? Consider your sustainable business practices, your accessible customer experiences, your inclusive initiatives to bring more equitable customer experiences to bear. Because how you do business is also your marketing. Expressing your brand values at every level is what it will take to build a trusted connection with people and with what they value. That's what is going to allow you to drive growth. To uncover people's values and identify where you align, you must go deep into understanding diversity. There are many dimensions of what makes us unique. Diversity goes beyond what we can see in appearance, like race or gender. Do you know what your customer believes in? Are you considering people with disabilities? Are you going beyond the usual dimensions of disability, perhaps considering neural diversity? Do you know your customers' cultural influences like language, education, location, nationality? What are their organizational influences? Where do they work? What is their position, tenure, job function? There's opportunity for a richer conversation. That's all I'm trying to say. Going beyond the obvious dimensions of diversity gives you more opportunities to connect authentically with people, be relevant, and the key here is to have your message land and resonate. And so, with that, we're going to play a quick clip from our Microsoft Advertising's web show, The Download. And this is with a lady from Crocs, the company Crocs. And so, without further introduction, we'll let that.
You're watching The Download. We're speaking with Heidi Cooley, Head of Global Marketing at Crocs. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thanks so much for having me.
Tell me about Crocs.
Crocs makes the shoe that is the ultimate form of self-expression. Many consumers recognize our iconic classic clog around the world.
Who is the Crocs customer?
First and foremost, we call ourselves a very delightfully democratic brand. We have shoes for everyone. That being said, our target consumer is the female millennial, partly because her attributes align to ours. She's fun and she's brave, she's comfortable in her own shoes, and she's unapologetically optimistic.
How did Crocs respond to COVID?
We too closed retail stores all over the world at the onset of the pandemic. But the way Crocs responded was different than a lot of footwear companies. So first and foremost, our strategy is rooted in what we call a consumer-first approach. We are a brand that every single day listens to our fans, whether they're asking for white classics for graduation to prom shoes. We respond to fans one-on-one every day. And at the onset of COVID, fans started reaching out. They were healthcare heroes, they were their family and their friends, and they were telling us that they needed the functional benefits of Crocs. They needed footwear that was easy to clean, easy to put on and off, comfortable. And when fans started reaching out, we knew we were a brand that had to respond.
How has your marketing been impacted?
Yeah, sure. Like every brand, we made incredible adjustments real time. Programs were cut, programs were pushed, programs were moved to next year. That being said, the most important campaign we've probably ever initiated to date was our campaign called Prepare for Healthcare. And that was our response to consumers needing our shoes. So within 5 days of healthcare heroes around the world asking for Crocs, a global team initiated a commitment around giving tens of thousands of pairs a day to healthcare heroes. And we gave away over 45 days.
So Heidi, the CMO, goes on to say that their brand momentum has never been stronger around the world. They're seeing positive trends from the e-commerce performance perspective and are building incredible goodwill with their fans that believe in the vision of the company. So again, that's one of many examples, right, that we've been hearing and seeing from our clients of how they are finding those common values between their consumers and the brand, and then acting on those values in a way that, one, is authentic and real, but two, will just further, right, that authentic connection between consumer and brand. So moving forward, making sure I've got my mechanics here. So when we look at the data, 85% of consumers say that they will only consider a brand if they trust the brand. So that's a big number, all hinged on trust. And in the last session, that was again very focused on privacy and where things are moving ahead in the industry, thinking of cookieless world. But a key element of that presentation also was trust, right? So trust matters greatly, and you're going to hear me mention trust multiple times. So how do we get that though? And like where does trust play into all of this? That's really the key. So now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of marketing with purpose. So I hope you're ready. Buckle up. we're, we're on the ride now. So this graph, which is the result of our study on inclusion and trust, and we call it the loyalty curve. And this is where the three core building blocks of trust were discovered, surfaced by the data, and where we can see that brand trust and brand love are highly linked. As trust in a brand increases, so does people's expression of love for the brand. The higher the trust rating, the higher respondents gushed over those brands. Our findings uncovered the necessary actions you see here that marketers can take to increase trust, create brand love, and develop customer loyalty. These are the top brand attributes and actions you can take that build growth through trusted customer experiences. And these attributes come directly from our research and indexed very high against the three areas of trust, love, and loyalty. So the key here is demonstrating responsibility, values, and inclusion. So with that, we're going to dig into these three buckets. So that is marketing with purpose. This is the framework of what we have done with the research and our findings. We do have an ebook, totally free, by the way. There's a link to that later in the presentation, but that's not why I'm here. All that is to say that I'm just touching the tip of the iceberg, but we clearly, distinctly represent the data from our research within that playbook. So if this is a topic that interests you, again, you're going to get a lot more, a lot more where this came from. So again, marketing with purpose is responsibility, values, and inclusion. So without further ado, let's move on. So I love this phrase. Marketing with purpose is the difference between earning a customer for a day and gaining a customer for life. Right? Which is better for you, right? Are you what are your LTVs telling you? That lifetime value. So if you do this right, you're gaining customers for life. So we're going to talk about the role of responsibility first. I apologize for the hesitation. I click and sometimes it bounces around for a second. So just want to make sure I'm landing in the right spot. So I want to start this topic of responsibility off with just a question. What is the risk of not paying attention to all of this? What if you don't take this seriously? So unless you have guardrails in place to protect trust and act responsibly as a brand, once you lose trust, it's very hard to recover. So again, a lot of that research surfaced this, right? It's about guardrails, how to protect that, because again, building trust is the hard part. Losing it, unfortunately, is quite easy. So once you got it, you want to maintain it, right? So trust is gained in drops, but lost in buckets. That's a really good phrase to remember, right? Trust is gained in drops, but it's lost in buckets. So that's the risk of not paying attention. 63% of our respondents have stopped purchasing from a brand because they lost trust. And 69% of them would never purchase from the brand again. So again, as we showed in that loyalty curve, it means doing the right thing, being honest with what you're advertising and being true to your brand purpose, looking for those shared values and then delivering on that in your product truth. And then when we think about accessibility, right? Accessible marketing is responsible marketing. And it's just makes a good business sense as well, right? So don't tune out, right? This is important, right? Accessibility matters. It's equitable access, right? Accessible marketing is responsible marketing is a buzzword, but it truly is a signal. It's a direction for customer experiences. So when you guessed it, all of that is going to drive growth. So like, again, what business doesn't want to serve more people? That's what digital accessibility really is about. It's about opening up the gates, opening up that door for everyone. So over 1 billion people live with disabilities in the world, and that's according to the UN and the World Health Organization. And when you add up their friends and family that are often involved in their lives directly, it's about 2.3 billion people. And the spending power goes from 3.2 trillion annually to 6.9 trillion. To add to this case for paying attention to building more trusted customer experiences, consider the persona spectrum. Right? That's a framework taken from inclusive design principles. Let me walk you through this. So it's based on the idea that there are people who are living with permanent disabilities, like someone who was born without or lost an appendage. There are people who are living with temporary impairment, like somebody who had rotator cuff surgery, and situational impairment. Think about new parents who, if they're holding their baby, they only have use of one arm, right? So, we did a little bit of researching with these numbers, and again, these numbers are from the US, but the concept applies anywhere. There are 26,000 people who lose an appendage or are born without one each year, but there are 13 million people who experience an injury to an appendage, and there are 8 million people in the US who have a baby each year, which removes your ability to use one arm in certain circumstances. So when you add all of those numbers up, that's 21 million people who can be reached when a solution designed for permanent disability might actually help all of these situations at once. So build for one, but extend to many. Right? That's a simple concept, but it has an incredible impact down the line. So accessibility is an opportunity, not a tax. Right? That's you got to think about it in the right way. And I apologize, folks. I want to make sure I'm on Tommy Hilfiger. I think we're missing a slide in the deck. Not sure how that happened, but I'm just going to roll with the punches. Moving on, moving on. So when we think about accessibility, you likely have an example in your mind already of a company or a brand that's done well here. But I do want to, comment on Tommy Hilfiger. So, retailer, clothing, if you're not familiar there. But, it's accessibility is not just about the marketing initiative. So sometimes it's actually about product and product truth. And so in this case, Tommy Hilfiger launched Tommy Hilfiger Adaptive as a sub brand back in 2017. It included magnetic buttons, padded seats in the pants for those who sit for long periods of time, like those using wheelchairs, zippers you can easily do with one hand, Velcro closures. And in speaking directly with Tommy Hilfiger's team that led to this retail innovation, 80% of customers who purchased both an adaptive and non adaptive item in the same purchase were new to the brand. And when they looked at the consumers who purchased adaptive only during the same time period, the percentage of new customers was even higher. And that's data is from their Tommy.com consumer insights data from their first 2 years of running this adaptive campaign, which would have been October 2017 to October 2019. That's 2 years worth of data. So being seen, understood, and served drives growth. And you can find that by applying a human-centric, inclusive lens to your business. So yeah, it's product truth. Making it possible, right? That just it's got a certain ring to it. So now let's talk a little bit about value and where brand values can meet with consumer values. So values drive value. You've heard me say that before. That means ensuring you understand the values of the people that you're striving to serve and that you're clear on your own brand values. So shifting your company from being product centric to people centric is going to drive both product innovation as well as advertising innovation. So ensuring you go deep here, right? Make sure that you're one flagging all of those values on both sides of the fence and then figuring out where the lines intersect. So from our very first study on this a couple of years ago, we found that people will buy from brands that stand for something larger than just their products when it aligns with their values. These stats are huge. 80% of people believe brands should play a role in solving societal problems. 60% of millennials and Gen Z prefer a brand that supports a social cause. And 92% of people say they have a more positive image of a company that supports a social or societal issue. Right? Those are big, big numbers. And brands that, they co-author impact, right? And so 88% of people want brands to step up on sustainable lifestyles and help them improve their environment and the social footprint in their daily life. Right? These are big, big, big numbers. And then when you look at the flip side, what happens if the values aren't represented and they don't align? that's when we start to see people stop making purchases. And it's not just in one demographic set, this is across the board. So we'll come back to Microsoft again. And this is not a Microsoft commercial. I just want to reiterate this is the Microsoft mission, right? Empowering every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And why do I bring that up? Well, so I don't know about you guys. Any gamers here? I'm a gamer. I love my Xbox Series X. And so when this came out, the packaging, right, was truly mind blowing. It's like, wow, again, for someone who does not have a disability, I found it super easy to open up. But when you consider all the potential people in the world who are gamers, who may have a disability, this was a very simple package to open, to get to the product, to get it set up. But things with Xbox go even deeper. And so here we'll take a quick pause to watch a very important video.
It's a black Xbox inside a black box. It's not much for you to see yet.
So I'm going to fast forward, folks. Didn't realize that it was. We're not going to watch the entire 10-minute video.
They thought of me when they designed the bloody box it was wrapped up in. That is how amazingly inclusive I feel that Xbox has been with everything that they have done to make this console, to make gaming literally for everybody. And honestly, I don't know what else to say. Like, you can go and check all the Google reviews, all the YouTube reviewers, all the gearheads out there. They will be telling you how many grams this thing weighs, how weird it is. It's a black box with some cool little holes in the top. Like, that's not the thing I care about. I care about the goddamn box it came in. And I don't know how to explain that to anybody else. But the fact that I sliced one piece of tape, the whole box opened out. Like, I didn't even have to reach in and pull this thing out of the box. The whole box opens out. From an accessibility standpoint, as someone that has no hands, that is amazing. That is just, what? Who thinks about me?
I don't think anybody could have said it better than he did right there. Right? Accessibility being in mind, not just with the product, but even the packaging, has had a lasting impact on him and countless others. So with that, Kenneth, let's kill the video and go back to the presentation. Thank you. So this is from Chris Woolery from the Xbox team. And we're designing a diversity of things so everyone finds a way to participate in a sense of belonging. So a sense of belonging. All right, so on to the third and final piece of this puzzle. So the role of inclusion. So brands representing diversity in ads are more authentic and are considered more trustworthy. So there's a study that we did. We called it the psychology of inclusion and the effects in advertising. And again, all of the data that came out of that was just eye-opening. And so again, it wasn't just one segment, one demographic, men, women, etc. But we saw these themes pop across the spectrum. So brands representing diversity in their ads are truly considered more authentic and more trustworthy. So genuine and authentic brands are more trusted, loved, and they earn their customers' loyalty. So this phrase, is genuine authentic, was rated as the most important attribute to build trust. And overall, 72% of people said they're more likely to support those brands when they see themselves represented or they see inclusivity represented. Now, this is key. So inclusive advertising done authentically feels like connection and family. It produces the feelings of joy and trust. And those are very big words here. Connection, family, joy, right? That's the feeling that people have when they experience this. So we call these the feelings of inclusion. And where joy and trust start to intercept, not intercept, but intersect rather, right? So when you think about acceptance, clarity, confidence, relief, I think we can all agree these are very big, very powerful words. I think we can all recall in our mind's eye a time, right, when we felt these things and those things feel good. So there's a reason why this has impact, right? So furthermore, we are talking business and impact to business. So in our data and what we're hearing from clients is that inclusion in advertising drives purchase intent. And so, going back to Tommy Hilfiger, who again, we see them doing a great job of displaying various elements of diversity. And they also have many ads that would not be considered inclusive. Still great, and they're appealing. But a great selection in this particular shot for the purpose of a study. So we asked Gen Z respondents to tell us which were most appealing and which were most inclusive. And we mapped that to purchase intent. And when we broke down the performance, the most inclusive ad, which is shown here, earned a 23% lift in purchase intent. People said it made the brand feel more genuine and authentic. So no matter the gender or ethnicity, all are more likely to purchase after seeing an inclusive ad. Right? All across the board. So words matter, right? And we touched on that, and we'll touch on that a little bit more here in a minute. But images matter as well. So inclusion within ad copy. This is an area of particular interest of mine. I do so much writing, less on the ad side, more on blog articles and the like. But there's just a host of words, right? And we've uncovered some of these today that leave a lasting impression on an individual, and we found that they start to just naturally group themselves. And so we have the three, what we call the three metaphors of inclusion. So there's connection, openness, and balance. And so when a word like involvement or family or community, acceptance, belonging, all of these things point back to connection. So that's what your brand values are representing. That's what your consumers are asking of you. Those are your words, right? Openness, as simple as open, but even warm, friendly, included. And then balance is, I feel, one of the more deep and sometimes a little more tough to nail, at least on the first try. But things like equality and acceptance, progressive, supportive, unique. It's all about balance. Are we doing the right things? And then when we think about how does this come back to images? So we've got the words, but what about the images? Well, it's the same three metaphors. So connection, right? It's looking at creating a visible relationship or an interaction between people. It's also realistic diversity, openness, just simply including people with diverse disabilities or including larger bodies, including multiple people of color. And when we think about balance, it's everyone who is in the shot is featured with the same prominence, right? It's less about the who and it's more about how they're portrayed. It's also multiple dimensions of diversity being represented to find balance. So thinking about the words, but also thinking about the images or potentially the video that will accompany. It's a two-pronged approach. All right, so I think we're getting down to the wire on time, although we started a little bit late, but I'm going to go relatively quickly through some just direct action items. Like, what can you take and carry forward from these big lofty ideals. I think some of it we just talked about the words, right? I think some of that's obvious, but maybe not all of it. So just a quick hit list of some direct action items that any of us can take in our daily work. And that could be, hey, you know what, I'm behind content, or I'm working on the SEO, I'm in charge of the website. You know, near and dear to my heart, maybe you're on the search marketing side, or maybe you're the programmatic media buyer, social, whatever the case may be. Our workflows all align at some level, and all of this can be put into action. So going back to accessibility, this is a great point to say, hey, let's start with an audit, right? What are you doing to just be aware? You know, have you knocked it out of the park already? Awesome, but are you sure? Or maybe you do have some work that you need to do. And so one is just keeping in mind that accessible marketing is responsible marketing, thinking through the persona spectrum that we touched on earlier, right? So you might be able to build for one and actually serve all in this case. But if you need a place to start, I do recommend checking out the Fluent Design System as well as the Accessibility Insights. Both of these are a great way to plug in, do an audit. Am I on the right track? Yes, no, maybe, and then figure out how to make the right adjustments going forward. We can leverage, so we all have access to data, and marketers, sometimes I feel like we're spoiled with the amount of data that we have access to and what we can do with that. But are we using it in the right ways? And one area that's going to help us as we think about marketing with purpose is, how are we preventing data bias? So do you have blinders on? So again, thinking beyond what and who you know, and making sure that you're set up to prevent data bias. And so thinking about your keyword research, what you're doing with audience targeting, maybe even how you're looking at demographic bidding. Do you need to challenge some assumptions, right? So think about, men make car purchases. Well, challenge that assumption. Now, how males and females arrive at a vehicle purchase decision can and does differ. However, if you look at the data and you really dig in, like I think it's the SUV category, women actually make the purchase decision more frequently than men. So challenge that assumption. So only women buy luxury handbags. Well, okay, let's challenge that. It could be a boyfriend shopping for a gift, or a non-binary gender expressing individual buying for a partner. So think about gender, age, sexual orientation, geography, and more. Understand your customers and how your campaigns either include or exclude them. So leaning into shared values. I'm not going to spend a great deal of time here. Definitely something worth reading up on if it's of interest to you. But how people feel about life choices and the direction they're going, it differs greatly, whether you're a boomer, a millennial, etc. So, I am technically a millennial. I consider myself the old millennial. I'm at the very top end of that. Um, but I see things here that resonate with me, right? It's like, well, okay, yeah, you know what? I mean, family's important, working hard is important, but it's not, it's maybe it's not in that top list, right? Um, it's is having fun number one for me? Maybe not. But the idea here is that we need to understand our consumers' values, but understand that depending on who that individual is, in this case, what generational bucket are they in, will also dictate their values. Leaning into those shared values. And so philanthropy is a big deal for Microsoft. And so again, this is just a good example of, this is a value that we hold. We also have heard from our customers that philanthropy and giving back is important to them too. How can we connect those dots? Well, Give with Being is an awesome example here, where once you're signed into the program, every time you do a search, you're donating to a cause of your choice, right? So living the values and putting it into action. And then thinking through all of those words, right? The word choices. And so how are you applying this in your ad copy, any of the copywriting that you're doing? Having this, like printing out that little list of words, just having it close by and handy as you're going through an ad writing exercise might be a good way to not trick, but trigger usage of these words in your workflows. But more specifically, as we think about these words, so on the paid search side of the house, you can use DSA, or it is this tremendous keyword research vehicle. And when you think of it through the lens of marketing with purpose, you can actually start to uncover blind spots and potential, things that you've missed in your traditional search campaigns. And with the proper filters, using an Ngram analysis, getting real nerdy there for everybody, start to filter that and say, okay, what words should be showing up in my search query list, and what is showing up that shouldn't, and what do I need to do about that in terms of adding keywords to my campaigns or adding negatives. Responsive search ads, one of my favorite features of the last few years. And this is an opportunity for you to say, hey, I've got these concepts, these ideas of what should be used, right? From those metaphors, connectedness, openness, balance, but I'm not really sure what's going to resonate. RSA gives you the opportunity to throw these against the wall and see what sticks. It's a beautiful, beautiful vehicle for testing these concepts. And last but certainly not least is thinking through inclusion and image choice. So go through, do an audit, look at the images that you have on your website, that you have running on your display ads, your native ads, and just think through, am I being inclusive? Am I matching, right, the values and the things that I'm trying to do with this campaign? But go a step further. Have those images reviewed by a diverse set of people that are not you, right? Avoid data bias as much as you possibly can. And just a quick shout out on the Microsoft advertising side. Again, if you're lacking images, we do have a tool. It's a partnership with Shutterstock. And I went through, I've done it, some peers of mine have done it too, and just looking for, can we find truly authentic, truly inclusive images? And you bet you, there's just there's a multitude of options hidden there. And so with that, I'm going to take a deep, deep, deep breath and leave you with, again, if you're interested in reading up, digging more into the data of the research that's been done behind this, I definitely recommend checking out the playbook. It's at the link there that's on your screen. And with that, thanks to everyone. And thank you to Kenneth for having me on. And we'll pause for questions, assuming we do have time for them. So I see one question in the box. So Tundra, thank you. I work at a college. Given our COVID environment, we're trying to show images on our website and on our ads that do not show groups of people. Any thoughts? So, I think that that's a relatively safe choice. One thing that I know, we did here at Microsoft was actually just, again, we have the opportunity to go in and take new photos and include photos of people with masks on in office environments, but also in like a consumer environment. And that's kind of what helped us get over that hurdle, right? Because this is something that I've seen come up before. But if you don't have that ability, or you don't have the ability to go out and get new photos, I would say just try some different options, right? Maybe put together an A/B test, right? One series with individuals by themselves, and then just start to see what happens if you show the group. I think as we're heading towards a recovery in many places around the world, it may be a safe bet to try that.
John, can you hear me and see me okay?
I can, yes.
Perfect. Very good job. A couple of points I thought were funny and good. I'll admit that I own a pair of Crocs, so I
Nice.
wasn't aware until your presentation that I qualify as an unapologetically optimistic millennial female. Who knew? But it's comfortable shoes during a pandemic. The
Yes.
video was great, but the power of that gentleman who got the Xbox. It's such an amazing video, and for any brand marketer, that's really can hit home. And I think one of the things that's really interesting about this, because I on occasion will talk about disability and accessibility as well, is this creates such super fans. The Xbox is not a cheap piece of equipment. I've got two of them, one older than the other, and
Mhm.
this just shows that this is somebody that also has, other than just caring for people, it shows that these people have real purchasing power, and this guy will be an Xbox Microsoft customer for the rest of his life, and it's incredibly powerful to see somebody, as he just said, nothing that you're going to see on a Yelp review, for example, is going to matter
Right.
compared to. There's no way to put that into words. Not even
Yeah.
really that kind of video.
His jaw literally dropped. He's like,
Exactly.
that was made for me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right. And
Yeah.
he felt
Exactly.
joy.
Well, it was fantastic that you showed it at DigiMarcon. So, somebody asked also about showing the free playbook slide again. Which one was that?
Yeah, I believe that I have it up on the screen
Oh,
currently.
perfect. There you go. Yeah, I
Yep.
was looking. So that, yeah, it's perfect. So again, I think it was a fantastic job. I greatly appreciate your time today, John, and thank you for joining us here at DigiMarcon at home.